And we're live.
And we are live. All right, so what's going to happen is it's going to take people a little bit of time before they realize the broadcast has actually gone live. So right now it's at 0 viewers, and we've noticed it'll probably be 0 viewers for like a few minutes, and then people will start coming in. How's life, guys?
It's pretty good.
That's good.
Cindy.
Yeah. Right. By the way, thank you guys so much for volunteering your time. I really appreciate it.
This is exciting.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully people come be friends with us.
Do y'all want to see my books for my thesis?
Heck yeah.
Oh my Stack 1, wow. Stack 2, Stack 3, Stack 4 and 5 and 6. It's oodles of fun.
Is that for your thesis?
Yeah, it's for my thesis. Yeah.
So much
I started writing today. I actually started, like, pedal to the metal, typing, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
I feel like that was a big, hill for me, big mental block, so it's begun. It's begun. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, since I'm just going to be moderating until Ben gets here, and then he'll take over, so obviously I'm not going to really be answering any questions, but I'll help to choose them.
Okay.
Yeah. People said they were going to turn in. I hope people show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Should be getting at least 3. Something real quick.
Did everyone have a relaxing spring break? Regents? Get some sleep. Some good sleep and study time, hopefully. Or fun excursions. Warm weather.
Warm weather. So great.
It's good. It's good.
Sorry, it's taking people a while to show up.
Sure.
It's okay.
So.
I'm going to read a little bit of my French while I'm right here. Reading a play by Racine right now. Pretty fun.
What is your thesis on?
What was that?
What is your thesis on?
Oh, my thesis. It's on, well, it's basically on human rights in American foreign policy, specifically looking at the Ford administration. So I'm kind of looking at like Secretary of State Kissinger during that time, who's pretty resistant to the inclusion of human rights in diplomacy and foreign policy. he sees it as a real limit on what the state can do. And then you have a really activist Congress who really wants human rights to become a thing in American foreign policy, and it's like this weird moment of like kind of like old and new, and swirling forces of like globalization and development and the dying Cold War. So it's actually like it's kind of fun, but that's kind of what I'm trying to tease out in my thesis. Kind of like this rock and then like this wave of like human rights like crashing on it. It's pretty fun. No, Kissinger's undergraduate thesis was 383 pages. So I feel like I have to get on his level a little bit. It was.
Get
made a rule.
out! That's not okay.
It's not okay. They actually made a rule after he turned it in, because they didn't have a limit before about how many pages you could turn in for your senior thesis at Harvard. And then they're like, we can't do this anymore. So
They made the rule because of him? Wow.
So they made like the Kissinger rule. It was like they put a page limit on theses. So it was just kind of funny. Like,
have you read his thesis?
Oh no, I haven't. I'm reading his graduate dissertation right now, so that's kind of fun. But because it ended up being like a published book, but
right.
Yeah, his undergraduate thesis is like semi-mythical. It's like unpublished manuscript somewhere.
Oh, you can't get it?
You can get it, I think. I don't know how many people bother. it's like just, you kind of wonder, like, did his professors or his evaluators actually read the whole thing? And,
How did no one tell him, like,
you
should probably cut this down a little?
He was determined. It was,
Yeah, he's Henry Kissinger.
He's Henry Kissinger. Right. Let's see. This is 1/3 of his memoirs, called Years of Renewal, right here. It's about 1,000 pages.
Oh my God.
So there's another 2 in the set. But yeah, so there's just gives you like a taste of like super prolific, like
That's insane.
But yeah, pretty fun. So.
I don't envy you.
Yeah, It's a lot of fun. I have some really good like Kissinger anecdotes built up.
Yeah, that's a good skill to have.
I
People
think
just
so.
drop fun facts about Henry Kissinger all the time.
I think so. It's also too like it's funny studying history and studying different people and then learning about things and being like, oh wait, they were like human beings.
Yeah.
They are human beings, So just kind of funny.
Yeah, that is cool.
But you need a reading recommendations about Henry Kissinger. I got you.
That's good.
I got you all.
I read one of his books in high school, and that was more than enough. I was set for life on Henry Kissinger after that.
Yeah. Reading about him is actually like can be pretty entertaining.
That sounds way more fun. Yeah.
Oh, we have 2 viewers.
Oh, great.
Hi.
Cool.
Hello.
Great.
Hello, everybody.
For those viewing, we're just going to wait a little bit longer, a couple more minutes, just to see if some other people will show up. I know that we had some more RSVPs on the event, so we're just going to wait for them. And I'd say about 8:15, around there, maybe let's get started with introductions.
Sounds good.
Cool. Continue. I don't mean to interrupt your conversation about Henry Kissinger. Oh, we do have a question. Can all the panelists see the question that's come in?
I can see the question. Yes.
Awesome. Josh, bear with us. Once it hits 8:15, we're going to get started with introductions, and then we'll get to your question right away.
I thought the other Josh was trolling us.
No, I don't worry. There's actually a scholar named Josh Chen besides the one currently on leadership.
That's great. Hi, Paris. I'm actually on a panel right now that's being broadcast live. Okay, sorry. Just like occupying a study lounge right now. It was like such a nice view. We had like the bay in the background. I was like, this is an appropriate place to write my thesis. It really is. It really is.
To write a thesis,
So,
not to.
Yeah.
Wait, what did this? Wait, hold on. Wait, oh, is it like actual our Josh? Wait, okay, so there is a student who is a high school senior who has contacted me before named Joshua Chen.
Oh, this is Josh.
This is like our Josh. Lol, hi Josh.
Thanks for the support, Will.
Oh. This is actually really fun. Okay.
Ooh, Josh, can you see our group messages?
Wait, okay, so Josh says he can't see the thing. That's interesting. So I guess we can use that group chat. Interesting.
Another question.
Cool. All right, so how about we get started with introductions?
Great. Okay. Who wants to go first? Yeah.
Go, Lizzie.
Oh, okay. I guess. Okay, I'll go with that. Hi, everybody. My name's Lizzie. I'm a fourth year here at Berkeley, majoring in history, minoring in French, and I'll be going to law school in the fall. And that's, I guess, my spiel in a nutshell. Go.
I'm Kamala. I am also a history major. I'm a third year, and I also am hoping to go to law school.
I am Cindy. I'm studying business and public health. Planning to either go to elementary school or get an MBA or an MHA. Welcome to the panel.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh, and I'm Allison. I'm the Chief Information Officer. I'll be moderating for now, but we'll have a couple other scholars come in later who can speak more directly to the humanities and social science. All right, so without further ado, let's get started answering questions. Annalise wants to know if it's possible to take classes in schools that you are not in. For instance, can you take Haas classes if you're majoring in something within the College of Letters and Sciences?
So who wants to take it away, guys?
I think from a Haas perspective, a lot of our classes, such as the upper division classes, have these limits on Pell Bears. So one of which could be just senior standing students or upperclassmen that need to graduate and really need to take the class, or people in the major, such as the business major, who need the class to graduate as well. So it usually goes in that order of priority, where people not in the major are usually the last to get in. But a lot of other classes, such as public health or other LNS classes, are open to all students. But certain colleges have more strict policies on classing rating.
And I would say in general, a lot of classes will have restrictions or different seats set aside for different groups of students. It can be based on class standing. For example, you have freshman seminars, which are really limited to freshman students. You might have a mixture of, certain classes that might have a certain percentage set aside for seniors, or so on and so forth. But there are courses, especially in, I want to say it's a pretty standard practice, especially as Cindy was saying, as you get into upper division courses, especially in pretty impacted majors, that there are a certain amount of seats set aside for majors, but also a certain amount of seats set aside for really the campus at large that you can take and sit in on and really get that interdisciplinary, interdepartmental, inter-college type experience. So I think if you're interested in having that type of experience where you're able to draw upon different resources from different colleges, say you're in the College of Letters and Sciences, which in itself has a very broad array of departments and programs, I believe it is possible, and you would, I believe, have the opportunity, as long as schedule and things work out, to take some of those other classes.
Anyone else have anything to add? All right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it also helps with our priority registration for incoming Regent scholars. Even when I was undeclared as a freshman, I did get into a lot of the classes that I would likely take in the future, even though I wasn't in the major at that time. So I think it's not that big of a problem. I think it's pretty easy to get into classes given that little perk. And even if you can't, you can always audit certain classes with a large class size. If they were in a Wheeler Auditorium or a class of 500 students, the professor wouldn't really mind if one random student came in and dropped by every few weeks.
All right, we're good to move on? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so Michelle wants to know, what are the advantages of studying history as part of the Regents program at Berkeley?
Sure. Kamala, do you want to?
Sure.
This one, and I'll follow up.
Yeah. In terms of how Regents affects the history major, I think priority registration is a really big part of that. History is a relatively small department, so classes don't fill up, but there are some really popular professors and who teach incredible classes, and basically as a Regent scholar, like if you want to take one of those classes, you're set because you have priority registration. And then I also think just more generally, you sort of have an advantage studying history at Berkeley outside of the Regents program because there's just a mass of resources available to Berkeley students. The professors are incredible. There's sort of a unique sense of history at Berkeley that I think is kind of lacking at a lot of other schools because Berkeley itself has such a really rich history that is so closely tied to sort of more broad global historical trends, if that makes any sense. So I think there are some benefits of Regents, but I think more broadly, Berkeley itself is a really great place to study history.
I definitely agree with what Kamala has said about both the class registration process, the benefits of having priority registration in the history majors. Like, I think very helpful. I know for myself personally, I was able to finish pretty much all of my classes on schedule or ahead of time, which was really nice and allowed a lot of flexibility in my own schedule for taking other classes, for pursuing French minor. I'm writing my thesis right now this semester, and this is the only history class that I have to take this semester because I've finished all my other requirements, which has been really nice. And I think just more broadly, the history department, and a lot of departments are ranked so highly when you look at the graduate rankings especially, which I feel like allows you to get a sense of the individual departments on campus. At least that's how I felt about it coming in and looking at Berkeley as an incoming freshman of, what are the strengths of their graduate programs was something I was kind of looking at because it's the same professors. Your graduate students, the graduate students that you're going to be interacting with, you will be interacting with graduate students in your classes as well in a TA capacity in terms of leading sections in addition to professor-run lectures. So just the richness of the history department is something that I've really enjoyed here. I believe it's like ranked #1 in the country. I have a book that my thesis advisor just put out within the past year that I'm like using for my research. It was like really exciting, new people at the top of their field. This is my 4th class with this professor. And I think it's been a great way to build relationships with professors that you can draw upon for letters of rec later down the road if you're interested in graduate school or professional school, and just really interesting and fun people. So yeah, priority registration has been great, and the history department has been just very, very, very academically challenging, but very warm and welcoming.
I want to second your point on grad students as well, because I think that's a fear that a lot of people have coming into a UC or a big school like this, where there is a pretty big graduate program that you're going to wind up working mostly with grad students rather than professors. And number one, you do work pretty closely with professors. Obviously, Lizzie has. I've definitely formed relationships with professors. But the grad students, especially in the history department, I've never had a bad graduate student instructor. Like, they're all really impressive and they know their stuff, and it's definitely like a benefit of that sort of big campus environment rather than I think something that I mean, I certainly was worried about it coming in as a freshman, but I've definitely benefited from it.
Cool. Before we move on to the next question, Anthony, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Is there anything I should mention in particular?
No.
Okay.
You know the drill.
Okay, cool. I'm Anthra. I'm a 3rd year molecular cell bio and classical civilizations double major. And I decided at the end of my sophomore year to do classics. So it's the add-on major that I sort of chose after a little while at Berkeley, and I do not regret it whatsoever. I've gotten really close to a lot of the professors in the department, and I went on an archaeological dig last summer with one of them. So it's definitely opened up a lot of opportunities for me, and I definitely love the fact that I chose to do humanities here.
Great. All right, so moving on, we have a question from Alexander where it says, is it possible to change majors completely, like from IR to astrophysics or even colleges? If so, how difficult is the process? So it looks like this is more a general question about changing majors in general. If anyone can speak to that.
I think changing majors, especially within the college, your particular college, is very easy. It can be as simple as filling out a form and going down and talking to someone. As long as you are, I think, as you go in your first year or so and kind of looking at a host of different majors and trying to get a sense of the requirements really helps, and the prerequisites. But as long as you're making steady progress and going along with those prerequisites, it can be as easy as really filling out a form, which is great. And there's different advisors for each major who you can talk to early on even. That's something that I would recommend to pretty much everyone. You don't necessarily have to go to a different advisor because you're not declared yet in that major. I think they are more than happy to answer questions you might have, especially if you're looking at like a couple or three, or like more, just like casting the net out wide. But I think definitely within colleges, as long as you leave yourself open to the prerequisites, it can be like really pretty easy to accomplish. I know others can speak to this as well, and the process of changing colleges, which can be more complicated, but is also doable.
Yeah, I mean, even between colleges, I think the most difficult one to switch into is the College of Engineering. So if you are planning on switching into that, you need to have a very strong case for why you want to do that, and you need to have fairly strong background or show that you've done well in classes that are required for engineers. Likewise, it's difficult to switch in the College of Chemistry. I think the easiest one to switch into is the Letters and Sciences, and then next easiest is possibly CNR. For business, Cindy got into Haas sophomore year. That's usually when you're allowed to apply to Haas at all. So I guess switching into Haas is like difficult because it's very competitive, but you're kind of on the right track all the way up to your sophomore year. So you don't have to think about that until then. I think, yeah, switching within LNS is super easy. Switching between inside colleges is super easy. So if you have a more specific question regarding that, or you have specific concerns, let us know and we can answer that more fully.
Cool. And we have.
Sorry. I actually just looked up the statistic. Not sure if you can see. It's your major at least once, and the average right now is actually 3 times. So we would really hope that you could switch out. Oh, this is flipped. That's not helpful. Okay.
I can see it right side.
Okay.
Yeah,
Left, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely doable. And I switched out of CNR into LNS, and it just requires some paperwork.
Cool. All right, and we have Josh's question, which is, Lizzie, do you have reading recommendations that are more sci-fi related or nonfiction?
I do have reading recommendations. For sci-fi, I really like Isaac Asimov. I read I, Robot on my dad's recommendation, and that was very different from the movie. It was like the first thing, but that's like a good classic like sci-fi choice pick. I'd recommend. In terms of nonfiction, I think some of my books are like potentially really dorky. I really like my professor's book, actually. This sounds really corny. But it's called A Superpower Transformed. It's about the remaking of American foreign relations in the 1970s. But it talks about themes of globalization and changes in international relations and like the rise of human rights in the 1970s, and it's fun. Let's see. Oh, what else? I'm trying to think of like good snappy things that I've read in the past couple months.
Martian Chronicles is good sci-fi.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's super good. And I like Fahrenheit 451, but that's also like a classic. So.
That's good stuff. Classics are great. If you're feeling really ambitious, you can get started on Kissinger's memoirs.
Oh my god.
Don't do it. Read the cliff notes. No. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to pull it up. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to recommend nonfiction off the top of my head because I have like, I was showing everyone earlier, I have like 20 books stacked around like topsy-turvy on my table right now for my thesis, so it's like everything's oh, I do have a nonfiction. Okay, it's Kissinger related because that's all I've been that's what I've been reading for the past couple of months. But it's a biography about Kissinger by Walter Isaacson, and it's actually pretty entertaining. Some good chunks in there. I do have one book which I thought was great that I've read within the past year. That was about actually it was about the Rwandan genocide, and it was about a journalist coming back to Rwanda. I think within 5 years of the genocide, and interviewing people who experienced it and lived through it on the Tutsi side and on the Hutu side, and looking at these people and looking for what kind of reconciliation process are people going through or not going through after, you know, so like basically a seismic event like that. So that was like an excellent read. I'm gonna look that up for y'all right now, and I'll get back to you. Yeah. Has anyone else read anything fun and interesting they want to share?
I still love Endgame, like the entire series in different perspectives.
The entire series of what? What was that?
Endgame. There's like Shadows of Pokemon, there's like perspectives from Bean.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I read a really interesting, it was kind of like historical fiction, but it was so it was around the mythical figure of Theseus, and I think it's a two-part series. So like the first one's called The King Must Die, and then the second part is called Woe from the Sea. And the first part focuses on like Theseus when he's like before he becomes king of Athens. So when he's in the court of Minos and he like fights the Minotaur and kills it. And it like turns it into a more historicized version of the myth. So it's really interesting how they do that actually. And I don't want to like give away spoilers because it's like the really interesting part of the book is how they make the myth into something that's like that could really have happened. And then like the second part is how I don't know if you guys have read the play Hippolytus by Euripides, but it's basically like that whole set of like series of events and how that plays out. So it's really interesting if you guys are into historical fiction.
Cool. And the book that the book that I was looking up was it's by Philip Gorovich, who was trained as a journalist. He wrote it 4 years after the genocide, but it's called "We Wish to Inform You That Tomorrow We Will Be Killed with Our Families." And it's a really heavy read, but it's really, really excellent. I really recommend it.
Very cool. Well, for the people we have viewing right now, we're wide open for questions. So just use the Q&A function that should be built into this Hangout on Air. Feel free to ask us any questions you may have, and we'll be happy to get to those. We don't bite, we promise. I see you guys.
Often.
So.
Okay. Often. Small caveat, no. Yeah.
I don't know. Are there any frequently asked questions that we could go through, just like standard ones that people might be interested in? Trying to think. I don't know if there are any that are like specifically humanities. Actually, I mean, we could go through some, like, I know we already probably went through a little bit about each of our majors, but did anyone want to say something about their major in particular that they really like?
We've already talked about history, so I feel like I can't just keep going.
Fair enough.
It overflows with my love. This is actually.
Don't be shy about asking us questions, guys.
I've actually really enjoyed my language experience at Berkeley as well. I've taken classes in 2 language departments during my time here, and I've really enjoyed it. So I've done the French major. I came in with a background in French from high school. I went up through AP French, so put in my 4 years of AP, working towards AP French, and then wanted to continue that at Berkeley, and ended up taking basically a course this semester in the French department, and I really enjoyed it. Taken different time periods, French literature focused courses, French conversation courses. I've read books from French medieval literature. I've read books written 20 years ago. So I've had a real range of exposure to like the French literature and French literary discussion and analysis. So that's been really fun. And one thing I do like in particular about those classes is you end up with someone who's super knowledgeable, a professor. I think in some of the lower level language classes, with the like the French one or the German one, which I was in last semester. I'm in German too this semester. People are very, very knowledgeable about the subject that they're teaching and very passionate about imparting that knowledge. So I've had some really, really interesting professors. For example, I was taking a class last year about 20th century French literature, and we looked at one of the books we read was written during World War II in occupied France, and kind of talking about this experience of being basically living through Nazi occupation, and what the psyche of that for the ordinary French citizen, and how that represented the broader like political situation of Europe being put under the heel of this one country, this one power, to extending through the 1990s and looking at the experience of immigrants from North Africa and France, and just these different interesting fun things that without taking those classes I wouldn't have a lot of knowledge in. It was just like a fun way to supplement my studies and just my broader perceptions of the world.
Cool. If anyone has anything else to add, please do so, but it looks like we have another question from Michelle here. So without further ado, she wants to know, so she got Regents at both UCLA and Cal, and was just wondering if we could speak to studying the humanities at the 2 colleges, both academically and extracurricularly. Specifically, she'd like to know about research and career opportunities for majors such as women's history.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if any of us can speak to UCLA at all, but for Cal, I mean, I know that the humanities definitely offers you a lot, both academically and extracurricularly. It just depends on how much you want, or really what you want out of it. And I mean, again, I can really pretty much speak only to classics, but I know that there are a lot of career opportunities that they offer you, and that the career center that we have on campus gives you a lot of opportunities no matter what your major, and can be very major specific as well. I don't know too much about women's history in particular. I don't know if that's some kind of offshoot of the history department, but I know that there's gender and women's studies, and that has some excellent professors and also some excellent research opportunities, or career opportunities. In the classics department in particular, there are very few professors. There are probably like 8 to 10 professors max, and each of them offers like research opportunities, museum opportunities, like archive opportunities, obviously like archaeological opportunities abroad, language study opportunities. So there's as much research as you could possibly wish for here if you want to get involved in it.
I think jumping off of that as well, one of the really fun things about the history department is you can design your own concentration, which allows a lot of flexibility in really what you want to focus on and what you care about and what you're passionate about. So if you're interested in something like women's history, that's very doable. And like Andra said, there's a lot of resources that can be drawn upon from the gender and women's studies classes that are offered. I believe a certain number of courses, depending on requirements and things, can actually count towards your history major, even if you're taking them outside the department, which can be organized and coordinated with Leah, the major advisor. But those are some great opportunities. Within the department, I've actually taken some sort of women-centric history classes. I took, we have these series of courses called 103 seminars within the history department. It's 2 hours a week. It's a professor or a very advanced graduate student, and essentially 12 to maybe 15, 16, I've seen like maybe 16 at the most, of your peers. You meet every week, you read a fat book about a particular subject, and then you discuss it, talk about it, really get into the nitty-gritty of the historiography of a certain time period or a certain theme, and then you write a paper at the end that's a synthesis of all these ideas that you've been studying. So I actually took a class, it was a 103, which several of them are offered every semester, something like, I don't know, Kamal, how many would you say, 10 to 15 every semester?
Like 10, 12, yeah.
Yeah, like a very solid number with all different areas. But I actually ended up taking this course called Sex, Gender, and the Legal Spectacle in American Society. And it was looking at these spectacles and these show trials of different moments in American history, going from the 1800s all the way up through the 20th century, and looking at it through the lens of gender and sexuality and all that. So it was like really like quite fun, and it was a good way to like explore those like different areas and really find what I would wanted to study and concentrate on. So that's something that's kind of fun, and you do get as well visiting professors who will come in and have different areas of focus that are really different and interesting. And that was one of those examples where there was a visiting professor coming in with that perspective. More broadly speaking, I don't know too much about the specific women's history-focused faculty here at Berkeley. I know I'd say in general, the history classes at Berkeley tend to be more reflective of and integrated in terms of less like top-down history. There's a real trend in the historiography and the teaching in the curriculum towards also looking at bottom-up history and really looking at groups that have been traditionally kind of ignored in historiography, so women, indigenous peoples, peoples of color. So I'd say that's another just broader environment type, a broader quality to the history education at Berkeley. That's, I think, not unique, but pretty special. I think paired with the strong academic offerings, it's like pretty powerful. In terms of research, though, as well, there is an opportunity to apply for a research grant as part of the scholarship, which is something that's perhaps less touted or people are less aware of as opposed to the priority registration, but that's something that can be turned into a really neat opportunity. If you have an idea, you have a professor who you've developed a working relationship with who, would be willing to oversee, for example, a research project where you might go to an archive, go somewhere and do fun research and, get in the archives or interview people or what have you, or, or go on a dig like Hunter did. So that's something that's like a ready-made like opportunity where funding could be available for a project for you in a very like tangible, like ready to go kind of way. Yeah, that was a long spiel. Sorry.
Just to briefly add on to that, I can't obviously speak for LA, but one thing that I've really appreciated about Cal is the resources available not just on campus, but sort of in the wider Bay Area. So there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, there's museums and archives and tons of places you can go to find information about what specifically interests you. And more importantly, for me anyway, I have really enjoyed sort of the opportunity to work in the Bay Area and see how some of the things I've learned about in class sort of translate in sort of the practical world. One of the coolest experiences I've had was taking a civil rights class where we were talking about housing discrimination patterns at the same time as I was working at an internship where I was working in housing law in Richmond, and got to sort of observe how some of the things that we were discussing in class had a real and tangible impact on sort of that community and that environment, and it was sort of an eye-opening experience for me. So I think, I don't know about LA, but something that's made Cal unique for me is that there's sort of a real world pragmatic element of everything that you study, and I'm sure for women's history you're going to have a lot of resources in the Bay Area to draw from and really see how that manifests, not just in class but in the real world.
All right, anyone else have things to add? Cool. So it looks like Alexander has a question. Actually, it seems like he's current student, maybe. What are some steps to take when it comes to preparing for grad school? Totally legitimate question, if anyone can speak to that.
I mean, I guess I can speak to that since I had seriously considered going to grad school for the classics and for bio, and I'm still considering it for bio more than classics. But for first steps on deciding whether or not to go to grad school, the best thing to do is to do research, no matter what your major is, because that is what you're going to be doing in graduate school. So for classics or for humanities, that's usually going to be looking into the literature that's already written. Maybe if you're doing something like archaeology that's very hands-on, like maybe going on a dig or doing some more like taking art history classes or classes where you're actually working with like primary material. And then take classes where you have to write, like take classes where you have to write those 15 to 20 page essays and see if you like them. If you do like them and you really think that that's something that you're still interested in, then go talk to people. Go talk to graduate students. Cal is amazing because it actually lets you talk to those graduate students without having to go search them out in whatever lab they're in, or like wherever they hold themselves up to write their like actual theses. Like you get graduate student instructors and you can talk to the people that are that have direct experience with what you're gonna go through. So my second piece of advice is after you know what you're gonna do, go talk to the people that have been through it. They have very helpful advice on like what's good about grad school, what's bad about grad school, what kind of pitfalls to avoid. They'll give you a very realistic idea of what it's like. They're not gonna like sugarcoat it, which I don't know who would sugarcoat graduate school. Everyone I've talked to here has given me a very realistic and slightly brutal idea of what it's gonna be. And if you still think that you really like it, then it's just going to be a matter of how much research you do, or how much work you do that is similar to what you're going to be doing in grad school. So like for humanities, that is going to be a lot of writing. So if you do a lot of writing, like graduate schools will see that that's something that you can do, and that's something that you can do well, and they'll be all over themselves to accept you. Second thing is probably to get good teacher recommendations. If you go to office hours, if you're like a good student, if you're interested in those classes, like the teachers will probably see that. For me in classics, it was a little bit easier because the class sizes are generally a little smaller, so it was easier for me to get to talk to professors and like get to know them. But even in like larger classes, if you go to their office hours, they probably won't have like that many people who come and talk to them, maybe about their research, maybe about like a paper, maybe about a random topic that's slightly related to their class, or that's like something that you've just been thinking about or just read about. Maybe it's just a book that like you decided to read on Kissinger and now you want to go talk to your professor about it, So like the next step is definitely to talk to like professors and try to get, like a good relationship with them. Apart from those, I mean, as far as I know, it's just like research and then getting good letters of rec, getting as much experience as you can. Some people say you should take a gap year or a couple gap years before you go to graduate school. I think the worst part about graduate school is that you might not know if you like it until you go there. So the best thing you can do is just try to expose yourself as much as you can to what it's going to be like before you actually get like the chance to go there. So that would be my advice to you. Make sure that you want to go. And then preparing for it is just doing the research.
I definitely agree with that. I think talking as well to the graduate admissions for the department you're interested in at your undergraduate institution at Cal could be really helpful. You may want to go there. You may not want to. You may want to go to another school, but it's a way to get really a good grasp of what kind of classes you should be taking and opportunities that you should be pursuing. What would make you a strong candidate for that graduate department, even if you don't necessarily want to stay beyond your 4 years at Cal. So I would totally recommend that.
Actually, a lot of the time, professors are the ones who are going to be like deciding admissions, especially since they're the experts in the field. Like they're going to be the ones that like look at your work and decide whether or not you're good enough for grad school. So if you like make friends with, the Berkeley professors who are going to be deciding whether or not you get into grad school here, like that can only be a win.
Just to take another perspective on this question, I think also come in prepared to sort of roll with the punches. If you have a really clear and specific idea of what you want to do after you graduate and what grad school programs you're interested in, that's awesome. But definitely take the time to explore different programs, different opportunities. Don't just sort of settle yourself into one thing. And like maybe, like I knew I wanted to go to law school and I haven't really changed that, but like I definitely have entertained other ideas and thought of doing other things and explored other avenues, and I think be open to changing your plans for grad school.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. During my time here, I considered MCB as a major. I considered economics. I considered like a stats minor. I considered going to medical school or maybe a graduate program in sciences. So I was a little all over the place. Also considering history and law. So I definitely recommend that, keeping your mind open and exploring. Because I definitely found my niche, I think, with the history and the law path, but I'm very happy having gotten those other perspectives and seeing what else was out there. So you don't leave with regrets of like, oh, I could have taken that or looked at that or done this. So I definitely agree with that. Important to make plans, but also to roll with the punches. Balance is pretty key. in life and school.
Agree with everything. I definitely also explored my share of grad schools. Still am figuring out which grad school I want to go to. I think the great thing about Cal is, like Lizzie said, you get to explore all these grad schools that are already on the Berkeley campus. So, for example, we have the optometry school. We have the Masters in Public Health program here. I have classmates going to the Masters of Engineering program, and it's great out for Berkeley. And we have the law school, obviously. So definitely a lot of programs that you can just like, pop in and ask the undergraduate admissions office, or not graduate admissions office, and like kind of take a tour. And we also have a lot of clubs and resources that organize like winter break trips to different schools down in SoCal or across the U.S. Really good environment to kind of talk to other students that might follow the same path and gain some resources there.
Again, for all of those viewing, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us, because we're just waiting here. And we would love to hear from you. I know you guys are out there, so. But if no one else is going to submit any questions until we see some more submissions come in. And by the way, please remember that you can use the Q&A function on this Google Hangout on Air to submit questions to us. Do we have any other frequently asked questions that we want to go over for people?
I actually have to sign off.
No problem. Thank you so much, Lizzie.
But it was nice seeing you all who I can see and, you know, and I guess those who I can't see. But if you have any further questions about applying to law school or that kind of process, or the history major, or French, or German, or any of those types of questions, or, you know, deciding a major and being lost in how you find your path, please feel free to reach out to me. I am on the Scholar Contact site. My name is Lizzie Callahan, C. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks so much.
Yay, thank you so much, Lizzie.
Thanks.
Yay. Alexander says, thanks, guys. No problem. We can help
You're
it all.
welcome, Alexander.
Okay. Again, if anyone else has questions, please feel free to let us know. Andres, Cindy, Kamala, any other frequently asked questions? Any random things you might want to mention?
Well, I mean, I don't know what you guys have already said, but I don't know, I guess like small random thing is don't be afraid to take those random classes that you don't feel are relevant to your major or to what your overall plan is. I mean, I took like a random class on monsters and mythology my first semester, and I ended up going into classics and becoming a classics major. Oh, we have a question. Cool.
Yeah, cool. So Ryan wants to know, is the political culture at Berkeley open?
That's a good question, because it has a reputation for being like the most liberal school on the planet, and there's some truth to that, I think, largely because of its history. But there's some statistic that like one of the biggest clubs on campus is Cal Republicans or something like that, and I think like more than being a liberal school, Cal is just sort of a political school. Like, people are very aware and people are very eager to have a lot of really controversial discussions, but no one's really gonna, like, if you come out and you have like the most conservative view on whatever, no one's gonna shut you up. Like, people want to listen and people want to learn, and like, yeah, I think the political culture is very open. I think there's a lot of controversial discussions taking place, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, but I think that people are coming at issues from all different angles, and that Cal's reputation as like a liberal bastion shouldn't worry you too much if you're not liberal.
I mean, I think that the openness at Berkeley comes out on two different levels. Like, number one is a very public level that you'll sort of see as you walk down Sproul, like in campaigning duty, which is actually right now. Like, you'll see people from both ends like screaming at each other, like having debates at the top of their voices about like things they feel really passionate about. But then there's also a more subtle level where like you'll just be at, I don't know, a party, or you'll just be like talking to people on a random edge of campus or something, and like if the discussion turns political, you'll see a lot of different viewpoints, and people are just happy to discuss things like that. So it's kind of like both sides where you'll get like a very, like you can have public engagement, and there's a lot of like open political events on campus. There are a lot of like things that you can do that are on a larger scale, but there are also just like the people that you'll meet here are able to have small scale discussions about things that you might be interested in. So like you can have more like intimate discussions, deeper discussions, like less debate and more like sort of like exploring a topic. So I'd say that Berkeley is one of the most open places that I've been to. And I mean, I've lived in California all my life, so I guess I've been in one of the most open states, like in the country, one of the most liberal states in the country. So I don't think anyone has been shut down as far as I can see. There's obviously a lot of like back and forth, and there's definitely a lot of debate, and there's definitely a lot of strong opinions here, but it's good. Everyone has a say.
Just same opinion, but other than like political culture, I'll just say I think Berkeley is open to pretty much all opinions about anything and everything. I actually have a friend, well, also just like walking through Sprout, you'll see people like picketing or like people displaying signs expressing their opinions on whatever is on their mind, and they'll have like random flyers being passed out to students and random rants going on. And even like the Senate campaign right now, a lot of people just being very politically active even on campus and having their own ideas of what to do on campus and how to take like the Lower Sprout project to a different level, what they want to see Cal's future to be as well. But other than political culture, I have a friend in this ethnic studies class on race, and basically you have to apply to be in this class, and it's just a mixture of races from Hispanic, African American, Caucasian, Asian American, and they put everyone together in this really small room, and it's a very small class as well, just discuss about the privileges they've had in their life and all the struggles they've had through racism or prejudice, and people just listen to everyone's stories. And some of their like homework assignments is to, maybe if you're a guy, then you'd wear a pad all week long, so you know like what it feels to be a woman, or you'll like go attend church, or you'll go attend this, I guess, cultural experience or event, or go through Lent or something like that. So definitely a very open and accepting.
Cool. And Ryan says, very well put. Thank you so much. It's our pleasure, Ryan. Yeah, it's no problem for us. We actually do have another question from Ada, who says she wasn't quite able to use the question and answer function on Google Hangout, but she messaged me. And she wants to know, for classes, when we sign up at Cal, so do we sign up for only half of them? If so, when do we sign up for the rest of the classes, and how does having the Regents Scholarship affect this?
Yeah, this is a slightly happy question for Regents scholars to answer, I guess. So there are two different phases for telebearers, and telebearers is what we call, like, I don't know if it's like a fun name for them to call our like a schedule sign-up sessions. So there's telebearers phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is sort of from there are two non-overlapping phases. So everyone gets a chance to sign up for half their classes during phase 1, and then it stops, and then everyone gets a chance to sign up for the rest of their classes during phase 2. So for Regents, we get like at the very start of phase 1, we have the first session. So like we can sign up for all the first half of our classes when no one else has signed up for anything, except maybe I think athletes. Some athletes get priority above us, but pretty much like we have first pick of the first classes. And then for phase 2, we get the first day of phase 2 as well to pick the rest of our classes. So like we get priority in the sense that like anything that we have to that we really have to take, we can put in our phase 1, and we're guaranteed to get those classes. and then anything else that we might need will get first pick out of like the second round. So we're very likely to get all the classes that we want, unless you want to take like all super popular classes, in which case they might be filled up by the end of phase 1. But it's not it's not really likely like that you're going to have all 4 or 5 or however many of your classes that you're going to take be that popular that they'll all be filled by the end of phase 1. And there are wait lists and things, so you can probably find ways to get in. So basically, being a Regent Scholar, you're likely to get a lot of the classes that you want to take.
But for CalSO specifically, our priority registration doesn't actually kick in until your second semester here. So basically, try to sign up for the earliest CalSO you can, because your registration date is when you have your CalSO orientation. So I remember doing it like the last month possible because I forgot to sign up, and it was like a little harder. But as a freshman, it's hard to get into any class, but you don't really have to worry because you have so many classes to take. You'll get into something, and there's so many breadth courses to take. You have so much to choose from. And if you actually don't mind me sharing my screen, just the resource when you do register for classes. I'm just going to share with you some of the resources we use when we plan our schedule. And the site we use is a schedule builder site as well as a kind of phase 1, phase 2 planning site. Let's see if it works. Oh. This site is berkeleytime.com. I think it was actually started by Cal students, Cal engineers. And if you click on enrollment, you can actually search what class you want to take, and we'll show you the analysis of when classes fill up and how many seats there are over the past semesters. Sorry for the slow internet. But you can click search. And I'm taking this class, so and click add. And you see phase 1 graphed here. So basically it fills up by the end of phase 1. So this is a class you would want to enroll in during phase 1 as soon as possible, and then maybe save other classes for this phase 2 time since this class already fills up. You can also look at kind of average grades and stuff like that as well. But that's a very useful site to use. And another site is Ninja Courses or schedulebuilder.com. And this is actually integrated into the Cal Fairfax site already. But basically, you can add all of these classes into your semester schedule, and they'll generate a schedule that fits together. So out of all these classes, I had 6 possible schedules and 6 possible like lecture sections or discussion sections to choose from. I can click through that, and it'll switch things up. And this is our actual Fairfax site, and what your schedule registration would kind of look like. That's it.
All right. Did you guys get a chance to see Ada's other question I put in the group chat?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Ada's second question is about which classes to choose her first semester, especially if she comes in undeclared, don't really know what to pursue. If you've just she's decided social science, but she doesn't know exactly what. So which classes to choose first semester, and how many of those should be breadth requirements?
Sorry, before you go ahead, let me just say we have Ben here. He's going to be taking over moderation for the last half of the panel because I have to go to a conflicting event. Sound good?
Bye, Allison.
Bye.
Bye, Allison.
Bye.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, sounds good. Oh, if you
Okay, while they're figuring things out, I'll go ahead and start answering the question. As far as I know, there's really no good answer to this question because it definitely depends on like slightly what you get for telebears and then like sort of just how things play out. To be honest, I would say like if you don't know what you want to do, just take classes in all of the possible majors that you want to like look at. And then you can sort of decide based on that initial range which ones you liked best or which one you didn't like at all, and you can rule it out. And I mean, if you take something in a diverse range of fields, like those are going to fulfill your breadth requirements. I think breadth requirements end up slightly being an afterthought for a lot of people when they're choosing their classes. I know that I usually just went with something that I was interested in. And like only in like my late sophomore year, like junior year, like now I've started sort of looking at which breadth requirements I haven't fulfilled, and like try to get them out of the way now. For most people, the people that have difficulty fulfilling their breadth requirements are usually people who know what they want and just start taking classes in only that field or only that major. So if you're undecided, you're at a bit of an advantage because you're going to want to start exploring from the start, and you'll automatically just take like classes in a wide range of like areas. So I mean, I would say try to explore your first semester all the way.
I totally agree. I think if it's your first semester and you don't know what you want, don't even worry about breadth. Just look at professors who go to ratemyprofessor.com and look at like the top ranked Berkeley professors, see if they're offering like a lower division class. I know like Filipenko often is teaching astronomy, and he's like basically a Nobel laureate, almost a Nobel laureate. I don't know. He got close. You know, look at if there are subjects that really interest you, like something really niche that like piqued your interest in a class in high school. Look and see if there's a class just on that like really specific idea that's being offered that semester. So yeah, just take something, find classes that excite you and take those, and that'll help you narrow in on a focus, I think.
To add on to that, actually, two things that you should really look into if you have, or actually three things you should look into if you have no idea what you want to do. Number one, freshman seminars. And I say that first because you can only take them when you're a freshman, and they're just one-unit pass-no-pass classes that you basically take with literally like max 10, 15 people, and then a professor and like you. So you're in a really small environment. You get like direct access to a professor, like no GSIs, nothing, and it's a small class. So you'll get a really good idea of sort of what that like topic is, how to explore it, and since it's one unit pass no pass, it's really no pressure. Second thing is LNS discovery courses. So this is only applicable to people in LNS, though I think anyone can take it. But this is supposed to help people fulfill their breadth requirements with kind of like fun classes that aren't too like they don't require you to have too much previous knowledge on anything. So if you just look up LNS discovery courses, that should yeah. So Cindy's presenting the like freshman seminar website, and they change it every year or every semester. So make sure that you're looking at the most recent one. So like this one's for spring 2015, and so like you can click on each one of these, or you can choose a topic and filter it that way. And they're all like based on a major. So there's one for like English, and then there's like another one for like classics, and there's one for like African American studies. So you can choose. There's one for integrative biology here, and like usually they'll have some description about what it's actually going to be like discussing. But I don't think they've put it up for this one in particular. So freshman seminars, LNS discovery courses, which are basically just classes. Those are actual classes, like 4-unit classes that you take for a grade, and like with maybe they might have GSIs, they might just be a professor, but they're also they're like supposed to be very interesting classes, and they're supposed to they're meant to expose you to a wide variety of different topics. And the third thing are decals. So decals are just they're student-run or student-taught classes that are also like 1 to 2 units, pass no pass. Yeah, so Cindy has up the discovery courses website. But the decal is just like a student-run class, 1 to 2 units, pass no pass again. and it's also just supposed to be sort of a low-key way for you to explore something new. And there are decals that are like really like hardcore or about like things that are a little more deep. Like there's one on cancer that I'm teaching now. There's some on like social media and marketing. So they're a little bit more academic. There's one called, I think, like Pre-Med 101. So if you're interested in going into medical school, like that's probably an interesting one for you. For like there are also like random interesting ones. Like there's one on knitting. I think there's one on rock climbing. There's one on how to solve a Rubik's Cube. There's one on Miyazaki movies, which I really want to take sometime. There's also one on the philosophy of Calvin and Hobbes. There are just so many interesting ones. So like if you want to take something like that just for fun, not necessarily for a breadth requirement or anything, I don't know if they count for that, but just to like explore something different that you'll never get to explore ever again except at like college or at Berkeley. So
I took a decal on Harry Potter and then later one on Star Trek. And it's pretty cool to be able to tell my friends, like, yeah, I took a class on Star Trek. And you get units for those. They don't count for breath. But they're really fun. I recommend them if you can.
Hey, Ben, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I was about to say. Cool. So hi, guys. I'm Ben. So I'm taking over moderating for Allison. So I'm a third year. I study English and molecular and cell biology. And yeah, so if you guys have any questions about being an English major or about double majoring in like two sort of unrelated fields, I'm sure Antra has already helped you guys out with that, but I'm welcome to do so as well. I'm just looking through the past questions and I'm very sad. I don't know if Josh is still watching, but because he asked for sci-fi related classes and I'm taking a sci-fi English class right now. So that'd been really cool. But I'm not sure if he's still here. Cool. Okay, so we actually have a question from Ryan, who wanted to know, beyond academics, what our favorite thing about Berkeley is. So does anyone want to start on that?
I mean, I'm down if no one else wants to.
I can take it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go first in case someone else tries to steal mine. But what I really love about Berkeley is the city, specifically the food. I think that's like I was chosen between colleges. I visited a lot of different places, and I remember going to like the small school in Ohio, and there was like one Chinese restaurant in the whole city. And then I came to Berkeley, and there's like restaurants like right off campus of like all the different cuisines you could possibly ask for within like the dorm. If you're into like drinking multi-tier boba, there's at least like there's at least 5 boba places within like 5 minutes of where I live. So that's pretty cool. So I really love that part of Berkeley. I mean, one of my favorite things to do with friends is go grab coffee or go grab boba and just catch up with old friends. I think that's what a lot of people. That's sort of like the thing to do, like on a night like where you don't do much homework or something. Just ask friends if they want to get dinner and just reminisce or talk about how your life is going or future plans. So that's one thing I really enjoy doing here.
Okay, you semi-stole mine. Okay, yeah, no, you did remind me. The food is amazing. There are these 2 ice cream places that I discovered in the last year or so, and I've literally just recommended it to everyone I know. One is EC, and it's like this fancy French ice cream place that has like really interesting flavors. I think once they've done like cardamom rose, and then like there's creme brulee that was just amazing. And then there's another one called Omari, which is gelato. But anyway, you guys should come here, and then we will all go out for ice cream. But the second thing I think that I really like about Berkeley is the fact that you can just have those like random conversations with like almost anyone that you meet in your classes, or even not in your classes. Like you could just meet. Honestly, if you just sat down and talked to someone on the street or something, you'd probably get a really interesting story out of them. Like today, I think obviously, so people are campaigning because they're running for Senate, but like. And you don't really like it when people just come and like talk to you about something like I didn't like it when people came and talked to me about like something that they're trying to get through, like their political platform. But actually, when I was listening to what they were actually saying, like a lot of them have really interesting ideas, and like they actually like pinpointed like problems with the university that I really thought were something that could be addressed. So I just thought it was interesting that like even the things that I kind of dreaded, the things that I didn't really want to like have happen were actually like really interesting once it got down to it. And I know this is slightly academic, but it's still just like it's interesting that you can have conversations with people and there'll always be something that you kind of like you can take something away from it.
I was gonna say the food too. But I love the Bay Area. I'm from San Diego, and I'll just defend San Diego until I die, but I think that there's something really special about the Bay Area, and there's always something to do, something cheap or free to do. The music scene is really cool if that's something you're into. Just culturally, you can kind of find something to pique your interest everywhere. San Francisco is like 45 minutes away maximum. That's probably a high estimate. And, you know, you're never really bored as long as you sort of figure out what this city and this area has to offer you. You can always find something to do and someone to do it with really, really easily. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, like, you can do anything you want. Like, there's so much stuff going on. I think there's so many opportunities outside of academics. Like, I joined a dance group this year, and I have 0 dance experience. That's great that I'm able to just start dancing. I take a yoga class in the middle of the day at, like, noon because it's offered as, like, a physical education class. But I do that for fun, and that's something I just got into this year as well. We can go, like, climb ropes in the trees near, like, botanical gardens, or, like, take a hike on the fire trails. And there's something going on every day and every night. If you just walk through campus, it's, like, bustling even at 9 p.m. So.
Cool. So we don't have any other questions at the moment, so if you guys have anything, let us know.
I mean, we also have been saying a lot about how active Berkeley is, but there are just places on campus where you can just sit there and, like, no one will be around, which is actually something pretty unusual about Berkeley, because there are these really urban places, and even if you just, like, step 1 foot off campus in any direction, you'll be in, like, a city. And I didn't really find that an advantage, actually. I didn't like the fact that Berkeley was so urban. But if you go into campus, you can find so many, like, wooded areas or, like, places where you actually just feel like you took a hike and you, like, sat down in the middle of a forest, that it's just, like, really nice. It's, like, a really nice combination of both, like, very active and, like, very vibrant when you need it to be, and you can also find places where you're just like, no, I just need to sit here and, like, relax and, like, not think about anything.
Yeah, just to add on to that, if like you're into like sort of more of like the nature stuff too, like Tilden Park is right next door. It's a short bus ride away. Like one of my favorite things to do freshman year and still now is like to, because I used to run cross country in high school, is like you'd run up like in the fire trails, like Hunter was saying, sort of behind the football stadium. You can get all the way up to like the Lawrence Berkeley Hall of Science, and you get this incredible view of like the bay, and you can see like the Golden Gate Bridge, and like on a clear day, and it's just nice. Like she said, it's nice to get away sometimes. You can sort of look down on the university and be like, oh, there's my dorm room. Oh, there's Evans where I have like math lecture. Like, so it's sort of nice to take a step back in that regard.
So, I mean, if no one has any questions, we can talk about, I don't know, does anyone have any, like, do you guys have any classes that you'd recommend people
yeah,
take?
like favorite classes? That could be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Specifically in the humanities or just generally?
I mean, just generally. And probably if you have, like, a favorite humanities class, that would probably be more relevant. I think I have one, actually. There's one called Classics 28, and it's just about Greek mythology, and it's freaking amazing. Oh, my God. Basically what you do, so, like, I'd read a lot of Greek myths before I came in, so I was like, yeah, okay, like, how interesting is this going to be? It's just going to be, like, a rehash of it. But one of my professors in the classics department suggested that I take it, and actually what you do is you tend to see, like, parallel trends between very different myths. Like, they'll all have very similar characters that kind of, like, recur in the same sort of way, or there are, like, gods that, like, come up in like slightly different, like subtly different ways in different myths, but they're all kind of like, they have this like core persona, and then they also have like slightly different pieces around them, and sometimes you can like relate it to the fact that like the Greeks were going like sort of switching back and forth from like a more polytheistic view to like a more like a view more centered on the pantheon. So like their main gods started taking on like slightly different aspects to sort of account for the smaller gods that were being forgotten. So it's all really interesting. So I'd say you should take that class if you're interested.
Cool. We actually have another question from Ada. And she wanted us to talk about that when they SAR to Berkeley next fall, if they all will, how can they begin their involvement with RCSA, or are there any events through RCSA that can help us integrate into the community?
Oh my God, the answer is yes. Okay, I don't know if someone else wants to take this first, but
I can do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so sort of the way RCSA works is that once you receive the scholarship, you're not obligated to be a part of the organization, but should you choose to do so, there are many ways you can. And so the general structure is that RCSA has different branches, which are comprised of different committees, and these committees work to put on different events. There's a faculty committee, there's an academic committee, there's a corporate relations committee, there's an alumni committee, and there's sort of these committees that all have different sort of foci. And I guess that if you want to become more involved, you can join a committee, or you can just also go to events that are put on by the committees. Personally, I'm involved in the Regents Overnight Host Program, so we put on ROHP, which some of you might have been able to attend, or might be attending this coming weekend. And there's a number of Welcome Week events as well that can help sort of introduce you to RCSA and to Berkeley. Like, I remember my freshman year, we all went to Cheese Board, and we went up to Camp Neely. That was really fun because I sort of met sort of my first friends in RCSA, and I met one of my girls I'm still friends with today, and we had almost the exact same schedule freshman year, so I was like instant like study buddies, someone I could sit next to in classes, and it was like really reassuring to help me like transition into Berkeley.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing that RCSA does is that it actually just gives you a community right away. It's like an automatic, like you're already in the association, so if you want to go to the events and you want to participate, you can. Like, that's just all on you now. So I think RCSA, as you go through the years, it's great because you see the same people like over and over again, and you really get a chance to bond over the years with, like, whether or not you're taking the same classes, whether or not you guys are even in the same major, you still get like a chance to like see these people and like hang out with them, and they're all awesome people. Like, the people who are involved in RCSA like across the board are just like really fun people. I don't know. So I'd say that like RCSA is actually one of the best ways. Nice, Cindy. Is one of the best ways to like get accustomed to this campus and like, you know, like find a way to find a smaller community in that large, huge mess that sort of is Berkeley. Like we're a fairly large organization actually. We're one of the largest ones on campus, but we still like through the committee structure, which is like 15 people maximum, closer to like 5 to 10. Like you find a small like family almost that you can sort of bond with throughout the year, or like going to events you'll see the same people, so you'll get to like know their names, and, like meet the like find out their extracurricular activities, find out like random classes that you can take next year, or like find out if they're like doing something over the summer, like you can apply for it too. Like if they're going abroad or something, like, oh, that sounds like an interesting program, I should do that too. So it's like a great way to just like be exposed to different opportunities just automatically with like minimal effort by yourself.
Yeah, definitely go to your Welcome Week events, because even if you don't make your best friends ever there, like that's familiar faces, people who you can have random conversations with when you run into them on campus. One of the things I like about RCSA is that there are literally events like for everything. Like if you're freaking out about telebears, there's telebears advising. If you're hungry, then hit up a couple of people just like in the Facebook group, and someone will be like, oh, all right, let's go get some food. I remember my freshman year, Allison used to post on Facebook all the time, like, hey, I just made some food, come get it in my dorm room. And that was just sort of something that was like really sweet and comforting for me. Yeah, I think it's just sort of a easy, ready-made community, and that's kind of the biggest benefit that I've derived from it.
I think it's also worth mentioning that like RCSA combines people from all different majors, which is just an incredibly powerful thing for student organization to do. Because so many student organizations are specialized, like pre-med or like the English Undergraduate Association. So it's all people who, I mean, it's fun to sometimes be around people who are all taking the same classes, who have the same passions. But at the same time, it's incredibly like enriching to your education to sort of be part of a group of people with so many different majors where people are interested in so many different things. So that's another thing I really like about RCSA.
I mean, you could also, the thing is about RCSA, like Kamala was saying, like it's not, they may not be your best friends. They may not even be the people that you hang out with on like a regular basis, but they're always a support network. Like if you need something or you have some kind of crisis or like you need a car, like if you just like message anyone, like they'll probably be like, oh yeah, for sure, or like I know someone who could give you that, you know. So it's like a great way to like if you need help, they're always there for you, or someone's always there for you, because it's just like such a large and helpful organization.
Cool. So Ada actually has another question too.
Awesome.
This one's about textbooks. So regarding textbooks, is there a used bookstore, or do you just buy all of your first semester textbooks and hope to find people who will sell you textbooks for cheaper later on?
Please buy my textbooks. There's so much, like, a lot of people just post on Free Info Cell, which is this Facebook page that is internal to Berkeley, that like verifies your Berkeley email, and basically only Berkeley students post what they're selling. And there's this specific page called Textbook Exchange, and people just post all the books and pictures of their books that they sell from this past semester that they're not using anymore. And it's usually like half price or more, or we go shop on Amazon and do Amazon Prime, which is usually cheaper than the bookstore, and try to find used books that way. Or we Google search and try to find the PDFs, or like buy the online textbook, which is usually a lot cheaper, and you don't have to like throw it out or give it to someone afterwards. Good for the moment.
Yeah, well, sometimes you can get better deals on like Amazon or eBay or whatever for used books. Sometimes they also, I mean, I've just noticed this, that sometimes the school is really good about negotiating deals with the publishers for packages. So say you have like a class where you have like a textbook and a workbook and an online thing and like, I don't know, like some lab manual or something. Then like sometimes they'll bundle it all and sell it to you for significantly cheaper than like, say if you were just going to buy all those components individually. So that's one reason to go. So you can go to, I don't know, does anyone know the website for the bookstore off the top of their head? If you Google Cal Student Store,
yeah,
like it'll show up.
There are also, I mean, there are a lot of like bookstores with just like used books around campus, and especially if you're in like the humanities or something, like there are going to be so many copies of like random books that you're probably going to like use like throughout like the random bookstores here, and they give you like really good deals on it. Like I think I bought a book once for like literally $1. It was amazing. So yeah, there are definitely like random bookstores around. The only problem is that they won't have like textbook. So if you're in like the sciences, it's not likely that they'll have anything for you. But for like classics, I just bought the Aeneid for like $3, and it was great.
Nice. So Ryan has a question about dorm life. So let's go ahead and answer that one.
Okay, so I lived in Unit 2, which is a non-substance-free dorm, and I think it's one of the nicer ones. I don't know. I had a really good time in my dorm. I don't think I wasn't like great friends. I know I've heard some stories from my friends that like literally had the tightest floors in the world. One of my friends had one of the like fire alarm sprinklers went off and like their floor got flooded. But they were all like just like such a tight-knit community that they just sort of like helped each other out and like split rooms, like shared rooms with each other and stuff like that until it was all sorted out, and they were all just like best friends after the year was over. I had a very like calm, I think that's like a once in like 40 years kind of event. For me, I just had like friends that I could talk to if I was having trouble in my classes. I think they just paired all of like the bioscience people together, like the pre-meds together, because I just had everyone who was taking like bio and chem and math, so I could literally just ask them any question that I had. Downsides, let me think. I mean, downsides, I think for me especially, I went with a random roommate, so I got a sophomore when I was a freshman. So she already had friends, and she sort of went off and like sort of had social events with them and wasn't really in the room much. So I actually got pretty lonely freshman year, which was a little bit depressing. But I think the way that like I solved that was going out of my way to go to events on campus and to like talk to other people on my floor. And that really helps. Like sometimes you feel like you just want to be alone, but then being alone is like the worst thing you can do. It's like it's much easier to transition to Berkeley if you go out of your way to go like make new friends and talk to people. So I guess that was like the one downside to having like a double where my roommate wasn't there.
Yeah. In terms of location, I would say that Southside, like the units, tend to be a little more social in that they're just closer. Like the food places around there open later. There's just a lot more. I don't know. There's just a lot more students around Southside in general than I would say like Northside or where Foothill is or where Clark Kerr is. So Clark Kerr and Foothill both have a tendency to. They're both like marketed sort of. They're larger rooms, and the suites there are pretty spacious and nice. The only difference is that like Clark Kerr is about a 15-minute walk away from campus. Foothill is actually on the north side of campus, so if you're interested in engineering or chemistry, it's like right next to all your classes, so that's very convenient. But and it also has its own separate dining hall. But yeah, I think that's sort of a personal thing. Foothill is known to be a little more quiet as well, a little more studious. Not that like you won't be able to study in your room if you live in the units, but that's just something to consider as well for you.
Speaking of food, the units 1 and 2 both are closest to what I think is the largest dining hall. It's called Crossroads. Unit 3 has its own cafe called Cafe 3, and then Foothill and Clark Kerr both have their individual dining halls. If food is something that's important to you, for me personally, I think that the food is better at Clark Kerr or Foothill. But the units are all much closer to like non-dining hall food. So you've got to kind of weigh that. Like, do you want to be really close to like restaurants or have easy access to better dorm food?
Clark Kerr brunch is supposed to be really good.
It's really good.
I made the trek out there. Like a lot of people talk about like, oh, Clark Kerr brunch is amazing. But that's something. So I mean, you don't have to live at Clark Kerr to eat there though. So you can like, wake up on Sunday morning, go with some friends to like walk to Clark Kerr, watch the archery team practice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or you could just go to archery in the morning and then go to brunch afterward. That was great.
Yeah, good point. You don't have to live in the place to eat at the place. Mm-hmm. So you could theoretically like walk to Foothill every day for food.
Oh, there's also, I always forget to mention, there's also Stern and Bowles, which is the all-girls hall and the all-male hall, if that's something that you're interested in as well. And those share the dining hall with Foothill.
Yeah, and Cindy is showing like living at Cal, like they have a section where like you can choose, or like they have resources to help you choose which dorm you want to live in. Mm-hmm. I mean, the best way to choose is obviously to talk to people, but like they have sort of like more information. Like the units has like alternating floors, sometimes alternating floors where like there'll be both guys and girls on a floor, or like an all girls floor, or like an all guys floor. I lived on like a girls guys mixed floor, and we did share the bathroom. Yeah, I didn't find that too bad. I thought like the guys were actually pretty neat. The girls were also pretty neat, but like it was, and the bathroom's cleaned like every other day or every 3 days or so. So it's pretty nice. I don't think there's really any disadvantage to having a guys and girls mixed floor. I think it's pretty nice actually. Like you get to talk to a lot more people, I feel.
I still vote for Unit 1 because that's where I stay.
I lived in Unit 1 too, Unit 1 mini suites, and I think that was, I like Unit 1.
It's the shortest walk, but at 8 a.m.
It is the closest in terms of like, yeah.
Then again, Unit 2 is just like a block away, So
Yeah, it is. It's not like we're not talking a huge difference here.
Yeah. Also, a lot of regions tend to live in Unit 1. My floor had like 6.
Yeah, mine too.
yeah, I think they put the Regents people together somewhat, and then the people who aren't in the same unit are just sort of like isolated. I think I was like the only Regents in Unit 2 that year.
That's why I didn't want all the way.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I don't know if you might be looking too much forward, but there's also designated apartment housing for upperclassmen, like sophomores and up. Me and Antra are currently in Martinez Commons at this very moment, and that's sort of a sophomore and up housing that you can apply for after your freshman year. And like it's really nice because they sort of just built it, and like we have singles, and like you share a kitchen and a bathroom, and it's like a very nice. Yeah, Antra is giving you a tour, I guess. It's a very nice. It's really nice and it's a little more competitive, but I think Regents tend to sort of get it if they put it as their first option. So that's not a formal perk of the scholarship. Though if you are guaranteed housing for 4 years as part of the scholarship. And there's also Channing Bowditch, which is a similar style.
I love Channing Bowditch. I lived there. It's, I think probably a lot less competitive to get for some reason. It's an older building. It's not brand new. But I found it really homey. It was really nice. There was tons of space, which was awesome. So pump Channing Bowditch.
I think it might be less competitive because Martinez gives you singles and Channing Bowditch does doubles. Like and they do some singles and they do some triples, so like they have everything.
Yeah, and Channing Bowditch is a year-long lease, and some people don't want to be around for the summer. I think that's part of it.
That's true. Like Martinez just kicks you out during winter break and during summer, but Channing Bowditch is like you can come back into your apartment year round, which is nice.
It's more like a apartment lease than like a dorm type.
Yeah, like Martinez still has like RAs and stuff, and like you check there's
Yeah.
a sign-in desk and stuff, but it's Channing Bowditch is I think a much more independent living style. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, it's basically an apartment complex. You just pay the university.
And off-campus housing is very accessible too. Like I would say a majority of people move off campus after their first year. And I mean, there's always those struggles of learning how to pay rent and like negotiating with your and then filling out like apartment applications, and that can be a little stressful part of the spring semester. But like, it's definitely possible, and it's a good life experience too, I think. And I say that hypocritically as I live in dorm housing.
Just thinking. But I think you're gonna end up living in off-campus housing sometime at Berkeley. I avoided it for like 3 years, and now I'm gonna go live off campus. So I think it is something to try at least once. It's good to have the experience of paying rent and having to like deal with things when they go wrong instead of just sort of submitting maintenance requests and knowing that someone's just gonna come in and fix it. So.
Or you can, room with like someone who's in Haas and like manages the rent and stuff and like takes care of all that. As does Annie.
Sucks. I remember there was this like horror story. When I first signed the lease, it was a year-long lease. It started in May, and none of my roommates were going to stay in Berkeley that summer, including myself. So we had to find subletters so that we wouldn't pay like a couple $1,000s over summer when no one's staying inside. So this was just like massive search on Craigslist. And let me get this scammer who turned out to be this like woman in England who was trying to scam us through MoneyGram and ask for money. And she was like, oh, I'm this secretary and I'm going to live there for 3 months and I want to send you my deposit over this sketchy app. So definitely good life experiences. And definitely you just grow up.
Nothing like that has ever happened to me. I live off campus. That's crazy. It was pretty easy to like find a place, and my landlord's really nice. And
off campus can generally be a little bit cheaper too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually cheaper.
Okay.
I pay like $5.50 a month for a triple.
cool. I think we've beaten housing into the book, so I think we'll mark that as done. Okay, we have about 12 minutes left, so if you guys have any like burning questions or anything like that, definitely let us know. I will stall by talking about my favorite class that I'm taking at Berkeley. I just really have to talk about this class I'm taking right now, which is an English 190, so it's a research seminar. So as part of the English major, you're required to take at least one research seminar. And the one I'm taking right now is on metamorphoses. It's the title is Metamorphoses from Centaurs to Superheroes. So I love this class because like the reading list is just like insanely good. Like we started off with like Apelius the Golden Ass, and then we did Batman Year One, which is like a comic book, and then we did like fairy tales. Like we read different versions of Beauty and the Beast and like Cinderella, and we just finished Frankenstein, and like basically the reading list is like insanely good, and it's a small like 25-person research seminar, so we literally just meet up for 3 hours a week and just talk about the books, and we do like presentations, and it's just like a really fun class with a really good professor, and the topic is just like really cool. So the thing about like some seminars like that is that they're not offered every semester. Professors sort of choose what they want to teach and what sort of what topic they want to really focus on, and it generally goes with what their research interests are as well. So I think it's really fun for me because like as an English major, there's so many elective classes I can take as upper divs. So it's fun to just see like, oh, what's the English topic I'm going to be putting on this time, and I can sort of sign up for those classes. Like next semester, I'm hopefully taking a class on like the graphic novel, or we read like Mouse and like all sorts of cool stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Damn, that was crazy.
We read Ovid's Metamorphoses too. I don't know if you read that on.
Yeah, no, those are so good, and Apuleius is really good too.
Yeah.
So fun.
I mean, I'm sure if you do classics, you must have read like Ovid because like it's like a B book, right?
Yeah, I actually took a class last semester called The Literary History of Desire, and it was basically like in the end, like the second half was just reading Ovid. It was so fun.
Oh, was it is like rules about love and courtship?
Yeah, he basically wrote a book about how to like court someone, and then he wrote another book about like so the first book that he wrote was sort of like him being in love, and there's a whole debate about whether or not it was like actually him in love or whether he's writing about it like just as like, a fiction. But he basically just writes about how he's in love with this girl and like how she's really cruel to him, but like he still loves her with the slavish devotion. And it's just like a bunch of like love poems basically. And then the second thing he wrote was like the art of love. So like
Artist Seduction or something, right?
Yeah, Ars Amatoria. And so he like writes one book for males, like how do you find someone like a girl that you like fall in love with, and then how do you court her, and like how do you win her and keep her. And then the second part is to females. So like how do you, it's very like sexist, but how do you make yourself attractive to men? So it's very like physically, and it's more like exploring like how do you make yourself physically attractive to men, but it's also kind of like psychological. So like don't let them see you put on makeup, and like don't see him for like days at a time, and like keep them on tenterhooks, things like that. Like it's just like a fun like slightly satirical book on courting practices.
Yeah, for the record, Ovid got like kicked out of Rome for writing this, so like, he was banished, and he was very sad about this. And he wrote many nice things.
He wrote more poems on that, yeah.
Yeah, and he wrote about like how sad he was to not be in Rome anymore. So yeah, you can come to Berkeley and learn all about like Ovid
and Tara, who was the professor for that class on desire?
It was Professor Syed. She's like slightly new. I think I took a class with her over this summer as well on just Intro to Greek Civilization. But it was really like she was really into Ovid. She like basically worshipped him. It was amazing. So fun.
How'd you like her?
I liked her. I think she's very like sarcastically funny, and I really clicked with that. So nice. I found that really fun.
My roommate's a classics major and was thinking about
really? Damn.
Yeah.
I don't meet many classics majors.
The classics are the best. I took a class on Greek tragedy too.
Oh no, that's so cool.
Yeah.
My roommate took that.
Oh wait, who's your roommate?
Molly Crost.
Was she in that class?
It might have been different semesters.
There's like multiple. Was it an English class?
Maybe, I don't remember.
It was like there was like 10 people in that class, and I
It's
don't
like
think.
very possible it was, but it might not have been. I don't
There's
remember.
actually one classics class that one of my friends took that was on like one tragedy, just like one. But they were reading it in Greek and translating it and then
Ooh.
analyzing it, and there were literally like 3 people in the class. And I was just like,
I
wow.
read translations. I don't mess with that like original Greek stuff.
It's ridiculous. I didn't realize how hard it could be until you like actually take Greek, and then you're like, holy frick.
No, I remember David Lohr was telling me about like how he was learning Latin because he was an art history major.
Yeah.
I think he like ended up minoring in Latin or something. And he was telling me about like his upper div Latin classes and stuff, and it was just like insane.
He took like intensive Latin over the summer. Like he took what should have been like 2 semesters of Latin.
Actually, I think
like,
it's
1
3
summer.
semesters of Latin. Like they have one for Greek and they have one for Latin that you can take over the summer. They're not recommended, but they're like amazingly good. It's basically just boot camp, though. You will not be able to do anything else over the summer except take those workshops.
That's insane.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to dedicate that time, but it's super effective. Like the people who come in have like absolutely no disadvantage against like the people who have been taking Greek for like a year or Latin for like a year.
Mm. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, Kamala, what classes have you been taking? What's your favorite one so far?
I'm in this really cool class right now on Berlin in the 20th century. Like it's just a really close focus on sort of the development of the city and like how city life changed with sort of the geopolitical like spectrum that happened over the course of the 20th century. So I just finished a reading about the rental barracks that apparently Berlin is famous for, which are now very popular among the like alternative punk scene. Like they were built as like working class tenements for like the working poor, and now they're like these really cool hip like loft houses. So that's what's up with me. It's my life.
Did you learn about the swing kids like during World War II?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are so cool. Oh my
It's
god,
really
there's even a
cool.
movie called Swing Kids, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually quite good. I do not remember his name. The guy who's on House, his friend, Wilson.
Wilson.
Wilson on House. That's like he's the same guy, but he's super young.
Huh.
Isn't it Martin Freeman?
Robert Sean Leonard. That's his name.
Just kidding.
Sorry, I can't
No,
remember
it's
his name.
someone else. That's
Not Martin Freeman.
No, like, I'm
Oh my
confusing.
god.
I'm confusing House and like Sherlock right now, because I watched a lot of that over the summer, like concurrently. Anyway, let's see.
Cindy, favorite class?
One science class I really liked was anatomy, because we got to like look at cadavers and like see what the actual liver and nerves look like. But non-science related, I'm taking this business elective called Leadership and Personal Development, and basically it's just a therapy group, and we talk about life, and that's our like homework. We talk about like our values, like our crucibles, our worst moments of our lives, like how that has affected us, where our values come from. We get like, one of our homework assignments was like to talk to a friend and ask them these really deep questions, like what was your first impression? What do you think I can like work on? Like, what occupation do you see as in 10 years? And just random things like that. And we've definitely like cried in our discussion groups every week because it's just amazing what some like fellow classmates have gone through, such as like parents going through divorces or like abuse within the family, or just really sad and tragic things, and they just seem so strong and like so amazing afterwards.
Wow.
Hey, Ryan, hopefully we'll see you on at ROHP.
Yeah,
on
we will.
17th.
We'll definitely see you there. Okay, so unless anyone has any further questions, I think we're going to wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a lot of fun. Like, I know we all have midterms and stuff, but it's nice to have a break once in a while, just go and talk to prospective scholars. So it's a lot of fun for us as well, so we're happy to do it. Just a couple of things for you guys to note. If you guys are on here, you probably already know about the Scholar Connect page. you can go to rcsa.berkeley.edu and check out Scholar Connect there. And what you can do is you can browse through the profiles of current scholars who have volunteered their time to talk to you and email them any individualized questions you might have. I know we're all on there, so you can definitely look us up there if you have any follow-ups for us as well. Additionally, we'll be having, tomorrow we'll be having a research and internships panel. And I'm blanking on the time. Does anyone
I think it's 7 to 9. Yeah, 7 to 9.
Yeah, it's okay, 7 to 9. And then there's also a general panel on Thursday for any more general questions you guys might have. So definitely come to those as well. And yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, thank you guys for coming, and I think we're going to end the broadcast now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.